The Australian newspaper has today published its list of the wealthiest 250 people in Australia. Now, the outstanding feature of this list is an evolution in the creation of wealth in Australia, with newer entrants emerging as new technology appears to be the common thread behind the new rich. The editor of that list, John Stensholt, joins me now. John, many thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ross.
That's what I get out of this list. There's younger people coming through.
Yep.
It's all the tech-savvy people. Now, we know about the Atlassian people. We know about Richard White from WiseTech. He's slightly older, but there's a brand new generation sitting there.
Absolutely. This is the beauty of it. I think there's more people making more money at a younger age than they ever have before, Ross. I mean, you take Canva, for example, Melanie Perkins and Cliff Obrecht, 15.89 billion between them. They break into our top 10. They were worth a couple of billion, 2.5 billion last year. That's all. So look at that. I mean, 13 billion in a year. It just goes to show how these valuations keep going up and up. Now, they're private companies. Let's wait for that day of reckoning when they list on a stock exchange to see what actually happens. But that's where the growth is on our list.
Okay, so you're right about that, because it's harder with a private company where it's based on the valuation of the last money into that business.
Yes.
Now, you don't know whether that last money into the business dramatically overvalued it, undervalued it, because there's no active market for it. But it's what you've got to go off when you're trying to value these businesses.
Absolutely. And there is actually starting to be markets for unlisted companies. Now, some of that's starting to come through in America, and particularly you can trade shares in some of these unlisted, startups and so on. But you're right, it is a public thing. It is a public-facing thing. We go off what they say in terms of valuations. And as we know, with some of these big tech firms, particularly in America, that they started making movies about or series about, some of these valuations do come off. Look, time will tell with Canva, but it's an amazing success story so far.
But it's even those who then question the valuations of Afterpay, which was listed admittedly. So Anthony Ison, you could see there really what the value was based on the stock market. People might have thought it was overhyped, but then along comes Jack Dorsey and Square, and all of a sudden it becomes reality, even though it's paid for in Square shares. And so therefore, again, it goes back to the valuation there on the stock market.
Yeah.
But it's brand new wealth.
That's right. It is brand new wealth. Look, it's paper wealth at the moment. There is some sort of crystallisation of it, but until they do an Atlassian, which did actually go off and list, remember, on the NASDAQ. Now, it was a few years ago now, but it has gone up substantially in valuation since. That's probably the proof of where you can go from an unlisted, really well-regarded company to a listed one that then just takes off.
But I can remember the days when lists such as this, somebody broke through $1 billion, and that was a big thing. These days, even to get to the top six, you've got to have $20 billion plus. That's the key. Now, even though they are the normal people that people would come to recognise as the wealthiest in Australia, Gina Reinhardt is there. You've got Harry Triguboff is there. Great photograph of Harry Triguboff, for example. Twiggy Forrest is there. So, again, these are the types of people you come to expect to being there. The iron ore miners, the property developers, these types of people.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's a tale of old and new, I think. So, I mean, if you take the top 10, for example, there is mining, top 2 positions, but there also is 4 younger people in technology. So you've got the old established money that's definitely there. So you've got miners, you've got manufacturers, you've got property barons, but you've got the technology coming through to sort of start challenging the real top echelon. So it is shifting around, Ross. But yeah, there's still a lot of money in property, for example, more people on the list than there is in any other sector. But the technology is coming through.
But the reason why that, and this is a really interesting observation for the community, is that you can start a technology company literally with your brain and your resources. And if you can convince others to go and back that dream, you need very little capital to establish that. If you want to start a mine, unless you get in at the very bottom of the cycle, you need vast amounts of capital and wealth and endeavour to be able to do that. So this is the opportunity for a generation of people seeking wealth to create it literally from the ground up.
Yeah, you can run a global company from Australia these days. You wouldn't be able to do that if you were digging ore out of the ground, or if you're building property. I mean, these people made their money domestically, but now you can run an Atlassian from Sydney. You can run a Canva from Sydney. Richard White runs from Sydney. He practically has his own home office these days. He runs it from home. I mean, This is the way it is. This is the way it's changing, absolutely.
So take me through just very quickly some of the new people that people will not know that have arrived on this list this year.
There's some really fascinating people like Dr. Sam Prince, for example, who has the Zambrero chain of Mexican-themed food.
Yes.
So all around Australia, but he's taking that over to North America. He's sort of trying to play them in their own backyard. It's incredible. So that's a great success story. He's a billionaire in his own right. Fung Lam, who is a guy who has a company called New Aim, which does all the drop shipping and so ships parcels around Australia for some of the big names like the Bunnings of the world and so on. So $900 million company, he's making more money, he's probably more profitable than all these other startups. So there's a lot of new wealth in that regard. Jo Horgan, cosmetics, she's on the list.
Yes.
Peter Friedman, Rode microphones. That's one that everyone uses those products. But
cracking story. And the size of that business is astonishing. So Rode microphones is just another great Australian success story, which is always the reason why these lists become such fascinating reading. And John, many thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Ross.